When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Well, hello and good evening, folks. Welcome back here to Maconi Entertainment, and welcome back to the Door Simracing League. And we are here at Watkins, Glen, for what is going to be another fantastic round of this fantastic series. It's myself, Ron Mullins, and Jeremy Briggs with you on the call for tonight's broadcast here on Maconi Entertainment. Christian Hill is working on the cameras behind the scenes in the virtual production hauler. Well, Jeremy, this is not the first time we have been here at Watkins, Glen. Just in the past couple of days. Last time we were doing a broadcast together, we were here with some Xfinity cars, but these NASCAR Cup cars, pretty big departure from those Xfinity machines. So I have a feeling the style of racing we have in this slightly shorter race here this evening definitely going to get put on full display.
Good evening, Ron. Yes, another night here at Watkins, Glen, but the racing here at Door to Door has been exciting all season long, and these drivers are going to put on one heck of a show. As you can see, looking at our schedule this season, we're pretty much following the real-life schedule, except for I believe Mexico was the only exception of the schedule being different this year. As you can see, we've got Richmond and Daytona, the last 2 races after today. So we've got 3 races left leading up to the playoffs, so these drivers are going to have to make some serious changes to their strategies to get themselves locked in with just these few races left.
Yeah, really getting into crunch time here for the regular season. These drivers looking to get in some good results, and here at Watkins Glen, maybe a little bit of a wild card, so let's see how things work out here tonight. That's the playoff standings. Heading into this race, you can see Alan Duggar right on that cutoff line, and right behind him is Joshua Sanchez, 19 back. He's going to have to try and get some points here today, but very close when it comes to those first 3 drivers out. Sanchez, Knopfsnyder, and Hewitt, all right there within 35 points of that playoff cutoff line. And even Roland Collette, their 74 back, that is not 100% insurmountable. Grant, it's not a fantastic gap to have, both the amount of races and the amount of chaos we may expect in the weeks to come. I have a feeling that that is not the biggest gap in the whole wide world. So that's how it looks in this playoff standings. You can see Trevor Baxter with the dominant run up to this point in the season, all the way up at the top. Taking a look at the track facts here at Watkins Glen, the former host of the Formula One United States Grand Prix, hosted NASCAR as early as 1957 and still hosts it today. Jeremy, you may be a little bit biased because I know you're up there in the Watkins Glen area of New York, but this track is an absolute stunner.
2.45 miles, 7 turns here at Watkins Glen. You kind of drive up the hill, you're driving down the hill into turn 1 and then up the hill through the S's. A little bit of elevation change, not as much as Sonoma, but it's pretty much like a super speedway of road courses in my opinion. As you can see, pit road speed, a slow 40 miles per hour. Lap record here is 1 minute and 10 seconds. So right now, drivers in qualifying are setting qualifying paces at 1 minute and 9 seconds.
And speaking of, we are in the midst of qualifying as it stands right now here for this race that lies ahead, which is going to be a rather challenging one for these racers. When you think of Watkins Glen, you don't think it's a super tough track with only 7 turns and a click under 2.5 miles as a total track length. However, this is a track, as you said, Jeremy, it's like a super speedway, both left and right hand turns. You're spending a lot of this lap flat out, and it used to be even quicker following the tragic events of the 1991 Cup race here, where we lost J.D. McDuffie in a crash heading down into what is the carousel at the end of the back straightaway. They introduced the bus stop chicane, but even then, that I could best describe as a dogleg detour around this track. And let's do a lap on board, heading down into turn number 1. As you said, Jeremy, rather important to try and nail down the braking zone into there. It looks like he's going to back at that right there is the 8 machine slowly trundling to a waltz coming out of there. But turn 1, a very challenging bend around this track, just a part of a series of multiple challenging spots for these racers here. I was doing a broadcast earlier on today on Maconi Entertainment of another Cup race here at the Glen, and the curbs were also a rather big point of contention as well. These low-slung next-gen cars not really working out well when it came to those huge curb whacks.
Yep, that is correct. These cars, the next-gen cars, I like to call them Gen 7. We've had these cars for so long. I think next-gen is the now-gen, in my opinion. So this Gen 7 machine with that rear suspension, everybody kind of having the independent suspension on these cars, I feel like it reacts to these curbs a lot different than your traditional stock car single-axle machine. And you got to be very careful how you approach these curbs, how you hit them, because you get yourself up in the air for too long and it'll completely ruin your lap and somebody else's race if somebody is too close to you.
And as we see these racers still running around this track here in this qualifying session, getting a grips to the challenges this session. A quick little reminder to those who haven't tuned into the series before, currently in the midst of a 10-minute long solo session, 2 laps allotted to these racers to try and get the job done. A rather stout grid of racers as well, 29 strong, with 27 of them setting practice times. The top practice time actually set by dominant driver Trevor Baxter, the 109 machine, a little bit earlier on today. But as it stands right now, running on board with Nathan Ford, heading his way off into turn number 1, this downhill braking zone. Really want to try and nail it heading off through there, because if not, you are going to be in for a world of hurt if you get slow down, or you're just going to get chewed up and spat at as we head our way back up the hill through the S's, keeping the momentum rolling in the flat out part of this racetrack, keeping it nice and tidy through turn at number 4 right there. Don't want to lose out on any runs heading off through here, because now you're on the back straightaway. As much as the bus stop may be a big point of challenge for these racers, it's also a huge stopping point. Want to make sure you can go through there as quickly as you can. Avoid those curbs if you can really decide yourself that you can't really run on them at all. I saw plenty of racers throughout that race that I was covering earlier on today on Maconi Entertainment struggle with the curb whacks. Same could be said about the exit of the carousel coming out of turn number 5. That is a little bit of a point in the road, so if you run across there, that floor going to bottom out and you're probably going to spin around like a top. This is turn number 6, the second to last turn around this track. Again, got to be wary about that exit curb. And here's turn number 7. Multiple points of contention here. Not a lot of runoff area, a safer barrier, which is not a cuddly teddy bear that will hurt you and hurt your car if you do run wide through there. And also have that pit entry on the inside, Jeremy, which can really rear its ugly head come time for some potentially green flag pit stops later on this race.
That is an extremely treacherous pit road entry for my opinion on a road course, because it just happens so quick when you're trying to go through that last turn, trying to make that right-hander carry as much momentum as you can to that pit road entry. As you can see right there on the screen, you've got those barrels right there against that wall, and that could be a hazard. You know, it just happens so fast, and I found myself into those barrels once or twice.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some bad flashbacks that I have when it comes to the sand barrels here on iRacing. I think I hit them once at the Charlotte Roval, and it pinged my car off to the moon. So I cannot say that it is a good strategy to hit those, regardless of what kind of racetrack you're running at, especially here at the Glen. Have a moment like that, and you are going to be in for a world of hurt throughout the rest of the race. These racers still in the midst of qualifying. Do want to raise the track temperatures, because it is rather sketchy here. Another sketchy part of this race that lies ahead. Currently 100 degrees Fahrenheit for the track temperature, 75 degrees Fahrenheit for the ambient. That is not what I would call very tame. Yeah, you can see the weather right there on screen. Relative humidity also at 70%. So these racers basically driving through a giant bowl of soup in the form of a racetrack.
A hot summer here up in New York State this time of year. I think it was probably a little bit hotter than that today, but obviously iRacing kind of got you kind of use their averaging system to set the weather. But that's your typical weather here in upstate New York this time of year, hot and sweaty, and these drivers are going to have their hands full, especially with the lateral loads. There's so many left and right handers where it has so much quick switchbacks, especially through those S's. These next-gen cars have the problem with that. car going from left to right, kind of losing the handling, losing the foot and grip of those tires. Lower profile tires that can make it pretty tricky. And Ron, it looks like qualifying has just wrapped up.
Yeah, it looks like qualifying has officially come to a conclusion. We can get that starting grid loaded up for you in just a couple of moments' time and let you know that Trevor Baxter will start this race from the pole position. A 109.4 is that driver, the number 12 car's pole lap. He'll be joined on the front row by Roland Collette, looking to get a good result here. Currently on the outside looking in when it comes to the playoffs. A win would sure him in. Let's take a look right behind on row number 2. It's Ryan Steinhoff alongside Alan Duggar in P3 and P4. Looking right behind them on a third row will be Billy Brickley in the 69 car alongside Gabriel Burke in the number 8 machine. Running out your third row on row 4, it will be Michael Kurdzalek starting this race in the 41 machine in 7th alongside Danny Carpenter in P8. And then rounding out our top 10 will be Daniel Best and Hugh Brown.
Just outside the top 10, starting in the number 26 is Stephen Bird. 12th starting position, you got the number 17 of Thomas Freeman. 13th starting position, you got the number 57 of Brian Wasserman. One of those drivers right on that cutoff line. 14th, you got the number 1 of Paul Danino. 15th starting position, you got the number 29 of James Nesta. 16th starting position, you got the 16 of Nate Pollard. 17th starting position, you got the 00 of Michael Reeves. 18th starting position, you've got the 87 of Bradley Knopfschneider. 19th starting position, you got the number 24 of Nathan Ford. And in 20th, as you can see, that is a race control lap just out there.
And then looking outside of the top 20, we've got Chris Chavez Essery starting this race in the 4 machine in 21st alongside Gus Otero starting this race in P22. Looking right behind them on our 12th row will be William Hewitt alongside Thomas Hagland. And right behind these racers on row number 13 will be Joshua Switzer and Joshua Hyatt, completing an all Joshua row number 13. It's going to be Brian Burchett starting this race in P27 alongside Ronald Judd in P28. You can tell who I'm rooting for heading into this race, with Tommy Osborne running after 29 car grid here tonight. Probably gonna have 28 starters as a result of that race control car there, but nonetheless, we are rolling for this pace lap here, Jeremy. It'll be a very important race coming up, and lots of different bits of challenge to look forward to as well.
Bits of challenge, especially 28 car field. You can have a lot of things happening. If you're not out on the track getting practice with other cars in a bigger field like this, kind of leads to some chaos earlier in the race with such a big field. Cars funneling down in the turns and the field kind of checking up more than expected. This first stage, only being 13 laps, is going to go by pretty quick.
And you can see the race analysis and the race information there. Stage race length going to be a nice big round 59 laps. Stage break's going to come at lucky number lap 13 and 13 laps later on lap 26. Fuel going to be at 75%. Tire sets available, 3 sets. Now I will ask for confirmation from the production truck whether that includes a set of tires at the start of this race. I would assume that is 3 tire sets, including the ones that they start on, so that would be 2 changes available in this race. I will look to try and confirm that information before I say anything more than that. 1 green, white, checkered attempt allotted to these racers, so if it does get a little bit squirrely, we will have to go into overtime. Only 1 attempt allotted to these racers, and looking for official confirmation. 4 sets, the amount of drivers these tires can run in the race entirely. 3 changes allotted to them, so not a lot of opportunities to screw up, especially with 0 fast repairs. This is a race that I have a feeling may be a bit of a one of attrition, Jeremy.
You can see those bright blue barriers on both sides of the track can lead to some chaos, having the track get blocked up with these cars driving hard, trying to make things happen, especially with 28 of them on the track. These drivers, like you said, no fast repairs. Got to get all the way to the end to lap 59 to make it happen, though.
Yeah, so we still have a long race left to go for these racers. 59 laps at Watkins Glen may not seem like much. It's known in the NASCAR world as being one of the shortest races of this season, but despite the fact that that only works out to be a little bit under a solid 150 miles, these racers still have a lot of challenge between then and the checkered flag, waiting for that green flag to come out, which it has now, and the drivers are on their way. We're racing here at Watkins Glen. They head their way up the gears and down the hill into turn number 1. Gonna be a good start there from your pole man. Look at the number 12 leading him coming out of turn number 1. That's gonna be a good start for him. Gonna lead him out of there as we see the rest of the field go side by side, and maybe even a little bit of 3 wide, a little bit farther in the back, Jeremy. Everybody wants a lead lap 1 here. Watkins Glen make hay while the sun is shining, get some moves done as this field is packed in like sardines, but it's also a treacherous spot as well. Don't go for something too bold and cold tires, otherwise you're gonna be in for a game-ending moment.
Drivers so far through the field trying to do their best to get single file, get a couple laps, like you said, on these tires. Oh, we got the double zero sideways through the bus stop. That's Michael Reeves. I'm not sure if he got into anything, maybe just got sideways, back underway. It's Michael Reeves. I believe it's going to be no harm, no foul. We'll check on that here if we've got a quick replay at some point, but Michael Reeves back underway.
Yeah, so one driver already falling victim to Watkins Glen, as that may have nearly been a second there. Look at Alan Duggar in that number 15 machine hitting the curb on the outside turn number 6 and getting a real wiggly moment on as he headed his way out of there. Still running in 4th right now, right to the back of the number 74 machine of Ryan Steinhoff right behind. Thought we were nearly going to see a dive right behind from Billy Brickley in the 69 car. He's currently sliding in 5th, wants to make his way up another spot in the early stages of this race. And one thing to raise as well, Jeremy, talking about the stage lengths and only 13 laps for the first 2. These racers will have a rather short run to the end of these stages, so maybe a bit more potent in terms of the action during these stages.
And not only that, pit road closes 2 laps before the end of the stage. Any drivers that are going to be making any type of strategy moves are going to have to pit with 3 laps to go. Going to have to make decisions early here in the race. Only on lap 10 would you have to come down pit road, so I'm not sure how it works out fuel-wise, but maybe these drivers can go all the way through the first 2 stages. We possibly have the replay here on the double zero. Michael Reeves coming here to the bus stop. Looks like he was side by side there with Nate Powell in the 16, trying to do his best to keep off of it. Grab that curb, just a slide to the grass. No harm, no foul. Great job by Reeves. Fires it back up, keeps on going.
Yeah, no harm, no foul there outside of a slightly bruised ego, and certainly a lot of lost time as a result of that moment. Here comes the side-by-side moment. This is what we've been thinking was potentially going to happen ever since I saw that number 15 of Alan Duggar wheel it heading through turn number 6. I knew he wanted to get a sniff at the podium, and he gets it done. That's a move on Ryan Steinhoff, so Alan Duggar, my apologies, got to jump his way up into P3. Still looking at these racers. I think Steinhoff is going to try and collect himself, run in the coattails of that number 15 machine right in front, and maybe try and figure out any sort of way to work for Duggar. On the other hand, what he's looking to do is leave that number 74 machine, 74 machine, my apologies, in his dust. Try and catch up to the back of that number 9 car of Roland Collette and Trevor Baxter. Baxter not really able to pull a gap as it stands right now, only about 6.5 tenths between those racers at the north end of this field. But as that battle is going on, we still have some dicing for the slightly lesser spots. Here's a battle for P15 at the moment involving William Hewitt.
Hewitt's the driver's left right there of that number 11. Excuse me, Freeman was trying to get in there. Looks like his left front tire got locked up right there. Freeman gonna fire back, or not fire back up, but gonna get his car back going. That was a close moment right there with that left front locking up like that. With a driver to your right, you could potentially slide right up in that driver and end both your days here early on. As oh, speaking of drivers off the track, Hewitt does the same thing here in a turn 1. Back on the track.
Yeah, Hewitt locking it up bad time, heading off through there. I'm pretty sure if he went any deeper, he probably would have gotten checked by border control before he ended up in Canada. A huge moment for Hewitt. Got to lock up the front tires. That's the thing about these next-gen cars as well. More stopping power than any Cup car in history, frankly. These massive wheels and these massive brake calipers on these cars can stop them on a dime, at least compared to most other stock cars. I say this as an open-wheeler guy who's used to being able to stop on a true dime. These next-gen cars, though, still very good with the stopping power, and that's the reason why we can see these racers go for the moves. That's James Nesta side by side with himself and Brian Wasserman heading into the final turn right now. Turn number 7, sweeping around the outside is Nesta, and through he goes into P number 9. You can see the brake calipers, the brake You can see the brakes glowing hot, glowing red on these cars as they had their way off through every single section. Look at the front brake rotors heading off through their rotors. That was the word I was looking for. The calipers wouldn't glow. If the brake calipers started to glow, I think you'd be in for a lot more trouble than just trying to get wound up and looking for an apex.
Glowing calipers, like you said, definitely gonna have some bigger issues. I gotta say, this 28 car field coming out here on this very treacherous Watkins Glen International Speedway, they are doing an extremely good job of, keeping everybody on track, nobody getting in anybody too hard, too foul. Knock on wood with that commentator's jinx, but a couple cars like we've seen kind of sliding off track. As you look here, the 24, there's some contact. The 24 of Nathan Ford getting spun around there into turn 1. Fires it back up, gives it back going. Nathan Ford, dumping scored in 28th, going through the bus stop as we speak. Now through the carousel, further up through the field. Looking right now in 11th running position, you got Hugh Bryan.
Hugh Brown, we follow him right now in the number 11 machine, while in the P11 car, that's not the number 11 machine right there as he gets his way off into there. That more looks like a 35 on the side of that race car as he gets his way out of turn number 1, up the hill through 2 right now. You can see these racers taking liberties with the track limits. One thing that I do like to raise when it comes to stock car races here at the Glen on iRacing is the fact these racers do not have the same liberties they do in real life, can't beat the track limits like they usually do on track in real life, as that's Hugh Brown looking to get a move done on Brian Wasserman. He gets it done successfully, heading down the backstretch off into the bus stop. Through he goes into the final spot inside the top 10. May try and reel in that number 29 machine of James Nesta, but it's a nice little Hornets nest that we've got going on right now. Nesta, Brown, Wasserman, Carpenter, Pollard, Essery, and Burchin all covered by, I would say, roughly, give or take, about a second and a half. A very closely knit pack of race cars heading their way off through the final few turns here, Jeremy.
Pollard side by side with Essery. Onto the front stretch. I tell you what, I bet these drivers are probably having a really good time. Oh, this is, like you said, this little gaggle of cars going around these turns here at Watkins Glen International. Having a good time side by side. Door to door. Oh, Hugh Brown sideways right in front of Nathan Pollard. Pollard nowheres to go. That's going to potentially do it for Nate Pollard.
Yeah, no fast repairs again in this series. That's probably going to be game, set, match for the both of them. Oh, look at that, trying to get rejoined. There is Hugh Brown. Not a lot that he could have done. Even worse of a situation for the 16 of Pollard. He's going to have to wait forever to get that car spun back around the right direction. Look at Hugh Brown understeering big time, heading off there. I can imagine, we're hearing that there's a meatball flag for Nate Pollard. Certainly understandable given that impact. Look at that side. That was a T-bone impact as they had their way off through their center punches aside of that car, and it all started, beached himself over the curb. I mentioned this earlier on in this broadcast, Jeremy. These floors on these next-gen cars, not only do they cause them to take flight on the super speedways, also in moments like that on the road courses, you bottom out, you lose all the downforce, and around you're going to go. Big moment, high centered, and around he goes into the wall.
Took the words right out of my mouth there, Ron, was talking about how these drivers were beaching themselves, and man, just nowheres to go there for Pollard. Another driver that I can see having trouble now is Joshua Switzer. He's on pit road with a black flag. So a few drivers having some problems here earlier on. Closing in, honestly, close to the end of the stage. I know we're only on lap 8. But only 13 laps for this first stage, so these drivers, they're thinking about any type of pit strategy for this race. We're really closing in on that window, and we'll see if any drivers decide they want to join the strategy, or if we're just going to ride it out to the end of the stage.
Yeah, touching on that black flag that we saw for the drivers a little bit farther down in the back, I gotta imagine that's for unserved slowdowns. 55x is the incident count limit for these racers before they pick up a penalty, and then you get yourself a disqualification at 59. If someone is able to get 55 incident points in the first 9 laps of a race here at Watkins Glen, I would like to have a conversation with them, because I would like to sell them a clock. But Brian Burchett in that number 3 car had a bit of a whack into the wall as he had his way off through the final turn. He's currently involved in a chase down with himself in the 4 machine of Chris Chavez Essery. That's a battle for P11 as it stands right now, but they're not alone in that fight. As you can see a little bit farther up the road, the 28 machine of Danny Carpenter still involved in that squabble as well. There's Danny Carpenter in that machine heading his way onto the back straightaway. We briefly looked at, I'm curious if we could jump back to it, that 3-car battle involving Joshua Hyatt, Gus Ostero, and Stephen Bird. You can see these cars running nose to tail. There's Bird, the number 26 car, currently the rear gunner of this 3-horse race. They head their way down to the bus stop.
Riding on board here with Stephen Bird. You said through that bus stop now, through the carousel. You can see it almost looks like 3 drivers taking 3 different driving lanes through that carousel. Some trying to argue from the top, trying to get a lower exit. Some just wrapping that curve all the way around. Remember, these cars have open setups. Everybody's running different setups throughout the field. Everybody drives a little bit different. It's actually really unique to see.
It is rather fascinating to see how these racers tackle this track, as here's a battle gonna flare up right now. That's the number 4 car of Chris Chavez Essery trying to battle with Carpenter right in front. Danny Carpenter holding on to the final spot inside the top 10. It looked like they nearly squabbled up heading down to turn number 1, and they're still nose to tail down the backstretch into the inner loop. They're going to go inner loop, the technical term of this part of the racetrack. The bus stop chicane just sounds a heck of a lot more fun as we see him head off through there. You can see these drivers and the strategies they take heading off through the curbs. We've already seen the curbs on the exit of turn number 1, and also the curbs through the bus stop catch some racers out. That's the thing with the curbs heading through the bus stop. They are all or nothing curbs. You either go full send over them, smash your shock absorbers, and get a little bit of air up off the deck, or you just avoid touching them with a 10-foot pole. You can't really go with an on and off strategy when it comes to that. Otherwise, you're going to be in for a world of trouble. Let's look at that. Roland Collette, very aggressive with the inside curb as he heads his way off through the S's at the top of them through turn number 3.
Pit road is officially closed. We got a 3-car battle up here for the stage win. We were looking throughout the whole field. We totally forgot about the top gunners, the podium drivers, Baxter, Collette, Duggar, all within a second of each other. These final few laps, Duggar, one of those drivers showing up late to the season. You don't win your way in here in this league, and Duggar at the cutoff line +0 coming into this race, trying to gain some more points, lock himself into that playoffs. Right there running in 3rd, right there behind Trevor Baxter and Collette, as they're coming to, I believe it's going to be 1 to go in this stage.
Yeah, so a time running out here in stage number 1. I want to know who's going to be the first to pounce. Trevor Baxter, probably the least to lose out of all of this, is if he just so happens to drop down. He is the dominant driver up to this point in the season, firmly locked into the playoffs with only a couple of races left to go after this one here today. Roland Collette, he is well farther back of that playoff cut line, about 74 back coming into this race. As much as a win would not lock him in because of the system that we have here in door to door, a good points haul today would be exactly what the doctor orders as well. Same can be said about that 13 machine. The driver behind the wheel of Alan Ducker got that move done on Ryan Steinhoff a little bit earlier on in this race, and as soon as I saw that, I was like, he has grander ambitions. He wants to get a good haul out of today, and look what he's done. He has hauled the mail, building an 8.5 second gap between himself and Steinhoff ever since he got that move done a matter of, what can I say, Jeremy, probably about 7-8-ish laps ago. He has really kicked on the Hyperjets in that number 15 machine. Coming to the end of this stage, though, we can see Trevor Baxter at the front, Roland Collette in P2. Alan Duggar slotted in third. That yellow flag not coming out. I believe it's at the end of lap 13 that we finally get this race neutralized. But for Trevor Baxter, he's got an 8.5 tenths of a second gap as he heads his way out of turn number 1 through 2 right now. The dominant driver up to this point in the season, that 12 car, has been up at the front for a vast majority of the races here in 2025 here in door-to-door, looking to keep on that same performance, motion along, heading down the backstretch, hauling the mail off through there. Not sure if we'll have a battle between Collette and Duggar as well, as there's about 3/4 of a second between those racers heading off through there right now. So it looks like things are going to be somewhat stagnant for now. Keyword being for now. Once we get into stage 2, I'm sure we're going to start to see these racers really start to throw haymakers at each other. But for Trevor Baxter, it has been a dream start for him. Started up at the front, got that move done on Roland Collette, his fellow front row sitter, and ever since then he really hasn't looked back. It's not a comfortable gap at the front, only about 7/10 of a second, but for Trevor Baxter, it's going to be the stage 1 win here at Watkins Glen tonight. There's a green and white checker for Baxter. He is victorious in stage number 1. Roland Collette going to come home right behind in P2. Alan Duggar finishes in third. Steinhoff, Brickley, Kurtisek, Burke, Best, and Nesta and Essery running at your top 10 at the end of this first stage. Jeremy, one rather short, one rather dominated by these front 3, certainly proving themselves to be the contenders tonight.
Yeah, those top 3 definitely showed that they have the speed with, like you said, that 8-second, 9-second gap in that shorter period of time. And wasting no time was Trevor Baxter, most dominant driver here this season. Duggar trying to put his name in that category as a dominant driver ever since he's joined. Roland Collette, you know, we said he was 70 plus out, wasn't too far out. You know, it was still kind of plausible that he could make it happen. So getting 9 points right there on the drivers ahead of him, you know, only gaining 1 point on Duggar, who was above that cutoff line. But, you know, 1 point is 1 point. You never had a little fall with just 3 laps left, or excuse me, 3 races left in the season, regular season. But the pace car has caught the field. We'll see what everybody's strategies are here at this first stage break, if they decide they all want to come to pit road or if they want to stay out for one more stage.
As we see these racers trundling their way down that back flat-out blast off into turn number 6. Baxter going to be the lead car of all this. Do want to raise attention to some of the hard chargers a little bit farther behind, including Brian Burchett. 14 spots gained since the drop of the green flag. Tommy Osborne running a little bit farther behind, up 11, and Chris Chavez Essery up 10. But here we go. Pretty much everybody's signaling that they're coming down pit lane here, Jeremy. Just as you expected, the pit stops going on. These drivers will be able to change their tires. I have a feeling we're going to see everybody do so here at the Glen. As much as it may be a quick track, you've got some very punishing corners on these tires, so having the grip towards the end of this race probably going to spell dividends.
With that track temperature being as high as it is here, 102 degrees, it can be a lot on these tires. Not sure what tire model that the iRacing has for setups this week, but I do know watching the real life race today, the tires were pretty important. As you watch the race off of pit road, looks like the first 3 are going to come out the way they came in. We'll take a look at the rest of the field.
Looking at the rest of the pack as they head their way out of there. Pretty good pit cycle for those front 3. Not really seeing any major losers as a result of that run to come down pit lane. But at the front, still just about the same. Trevor Baxter in front of Roland Collette, in front of Alan Duggar. Billy Brickley going to exit out of the pits in 4th with Michael Kurtzelek, I believe one of the other gainers as a result of pit lane. He's going to exit out in P5. Looking at the times as well, I think if anybody lost out, it was probably James Nesta. He's now down in P9, 15.4 seconds. Stopped down pit lane. Joshua Hyatt also at 15.5. It may not seem like too much. We're only talking about a matter of, what, a second, a half a second in most cases, but a half a second under these yellow flag pit stops with the field coming in packed in like sardines, they can make a huge difference, Jeremy.
Even in the real life application, tenths matter on pit road. You want to have good pit road speed. You want to make sure right there at the edge, the whole way down pit road. You want to make sure when you get into your box, you get into your box right on your sign, so your pit crew doesn't have to make a lot of adjustments when you come to a complete stop. Not sure how much these drivers do practice that, but I do know myself that sometimes I do find myself trying to find that sweet spot coming into that pit road stall where your crew is set up just right. Let's see if we come to the one to go this time. Race cars coming to the start finish line as we speak. We'll see if the lights get turned off. Yes, they do. We're at the one to go signal here.
Yes, indeed, the lights out on that Porsche pace car. We're about to get this race up and rolling here in a couple of moments. Get stage 2 ready to rock here on Maconi Entertainment tonight. If you're enjoying tonight's racing action here, I bet you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. Of course, here on Maconi Entertainment, we have got action for you to look forward to pretty much every single day of the week. It feels like we have got something going on. Tomorrow here on Maconi Entertainment, you'll be able to see the action from the Formula 1600 Monday Strength of Field race. That'll be at Virginia International Raceway. So if you're in the mood for a draft fest, that is going to be some fun. Got the opportunity to do a Formula Ford broadcast a little bit earlier on, and as much as that race is double the distance of those officials that we cover here, I love those cars, and they can put on some very good racing action. Racers Elite going to be running the latest round of their truck league this upcoming Tuesday at IRP. We're going to be presenting another installment of Jeff Maconi's boot camp. The boss man getting some ARCA practice in. Can't run at Madison because that's not track and iRacing, so instead we're supplementing it with the old USA International Speedway. Fun fact for all of you on this broadcast, a little bit of blackmail on me as a broadcaster. Back in March or April, I believe it was, of 2023, it was one of my first ever shows I led for the very first time on a broadcast. I was lead commentator for that show. It got decided about 5 seconds before we went live. My co-commentator, who had about 3 more months of experience than I did when I first stepped in, said, "Hey Ron, how about you take lead?" I did it, and I hope that that broadcast is never seen by more than a few eyes until I am blue in the face and 6 feet in the dirt. Full-length Cup Challenge going to be running at Richmond, along with the Door Simracing League running there this upcoming Sunday. You can catch all that action here every single week exclusively on Maconi Entertainment. But getting things up and rolling and ready to rock here for this second stage, just a little bit shorter than that first one, 13 laps long, but with that yellow, we do have a flat out 10-lap dash to the end of this stage to decide who's going to get it done. That front row about to bang through the gears. We're back racing here at the Glen. A dream start there from the 12 of Dexter. Gonna lead him down in this front stretch into one.
As we watch these drivers come piling third turn one, everybody so far so good. Watch throughout the rest of the field. Otero's side by side. Oh, Duggar was trying to get just a little his nose peeked out there on Colette. Did not make it happen. Look at all these cars really going for it. All these drivers got some laps in that first stage. Really know what the cars are doing. We're able to come down pit road this time, make some adjustments. Maybe have a little bit more confidence this time at this start of the race, this part of the race, versus the initial start of the race. So, as you can see right there, Duggar was trying to run a different line, trying to grab some more bite on exit. Trying to really throw it in there, but right now top 5 evenly split. Come around to complete this first green flag lap of the second stage.
Yeah, and since these racers do have one stage lengths of knowledge in their head about how this race is, how their cars are feeling under race conditions, and how their competitors are going to be treating each other throughout tonight, we're starting to see these racers get a bit more bold, audacious, and aggressive. That's a slide a little bit farther in the back. Someone drifted up big time into the wall. That, I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, looking at that car, trundling his way down the start-finish straightaway. That was the offender in all of that moment, and that right there there is no cider. He was slideways as he headed his way off through turn number 7. He hits the wall. Doesn't look like there's a disgusting amount of damage on that car, but certainly going to be slow throughout the rest of this stage here. Again, no fast repairs allotted to these competitors either, so if he's got some wheel damage and picks up a meatball flag, he is going to be in for a real tough night ahead. Trevor Baxter still leading and trying to build that gap now to about 0.8 of a second between himself and Roland Collette. That battle for P2, I think, is the one to keep eyes on, as Alan Duggar not letting Collette get away.
Duggar definitely putting the pressure on her. Got that mirror full of that bright, I guess you could say, seafoam teal color. Not sure what color you want to call it. Depends on what your screen might look like. How it absorbs that color. But that's a bright looking machine. Definitely putting the pressure on the back bumper of that number 9 of Collette. SBR on the side of his machine, coming to the S's. All over his back bumper. Can Duggar get a good run on the exit down the back straightaway? We're going to go almost over 170 miles an hour. Can he outbrake him? Coming into the bus stop.
Now, the bus stop is such a challenging section of this track, so easy to lose it, but as we see these drivers whack the curbs heading off through there, Duggar gonna think better of it. I think if there is a good spot to try and get a move done, it's not down into the bus stop. The best way to get an overtake done through that part of the track is just wait for your competitors to have a mistake and pick up the pieces when they come to blows. This may be the best spot as far as I'm concerned. Turn number 6, another heavy braking zone, probably the heaviest braking zone around the entirety of this racetrack. As much as you've got that killer curve on the outside that will bite you in case you run wide, the opportunity to get a move done with a couple of corners left to go in the lap is very appealing. At least it is to me, but again, very good reason why I'm behind the microphone instead of behind the wheel. Alan Duggar still running in P3. We're right on board with him still, now about a half a second to himself and Roland Collette as it stands right now at the start of lap number 20 laps in to this 59 lap long race here for just another round of the Door Sim Racing League here on Maconi Entertainment. Jumping back to the battle, this is Brian Burchett, who's put on a very good drive as it stands right now. P8 as it stands presently, and looking for some more. He smells blood in the water with that 29 car of James Nesta right in front.
See Burchett not able to get to driver's right side here into this heavy braking zone. Oh, Nesta sideways though. That's going to open the door right up there for Burchett. Makes that pass real easy. Nesta with a big moment there through the bus stop. Now getting heavy pressure from Daniel Best in that number 5. We'll have to see if Best can capitalize. Like I said, there seems to be some blood in the water with that Nesta machine right now. Daniel Best looking to driver's left. Coming into turn number 6. They're side by side. Coming to turn 7, the final turn to get us down the front straightaway. Best was not able to complete the pass. Smart move, gives the position up for right now, but he's going to be on his back bumper coming down to the start-finish line. What will he do into turn 1?
Best not able to best Nesta as he headed his way off into turn number 6. They're still running
that
tail
10
for
times
P8
fast.
and P9. I would try saying that 5 times fast, but I think my tongue would get wrapped around my teeth about 15 times. I'd be out of commission broadcasting for quite some time. Contact being made into 3, into the wall's going to go the 29. Big hits there at the top of the hill. Contact being made as Daniel Best tried to go for it. Bit impatient there, if I'm being honest, from the 5 machine, and that's the 29 car stopped in a very precarious situation out there on the track. Backs it into the wall. He's got to be stopped there for quite some time because it's a constant, steady stream of race cars going to be cresting the hill. And oh boy, holy cow. I'm not sure. I think that was the 87 there that just had the code brand moment to end all code brand moments.
Or maybe the number 4, but man, oh man. I was wondering how well that was going to pan out because Nesta was up towards the front, so there was a lot of cars that we're going to have to go past them as we started with a 28 car field. As we took a look at this Maconi Entertainment replay, door-to-door action. On the door-to-door, oh, looks like Nesta had a little bit of trouble right there. Best got his nose in there. Nesta, not sure if he thought he was going to be able to close the door, or if Best just poked his nose in there, maybe at a not the right time, but man, heavy contact there for Nesta. In a terrible position on the track, loses lots of spots. Heavy damage to his car as well. Ronald Judd Got a black flag right now. Just trouble all over the track. Man,
Whoa.
oh, that was
Oh,
that
was in
was
slow motion too.
yeah. That was a
That-
close moment there for that Pittsburgh Steelers machine.
Yeah, that right there was the number 87, slowly but surely going around that slow motion replay. In real time, though, that was a gut-wrenchingly terrifying moment for the 87 of Bradley Snyder. He's still out there on the racetrack. I don't think he has clean pants, but he still has a relatively clean race car. All that really happened to him, and there was a scrape of the wall with the left rear. I'm not even sure if there's a paint chip in that car. Actually, take a look at that potentially. I thought we were as he had his way off through the carousel. But here's the battle of the car that was involved in all of that. No worries here, as this is close with Daniel Best and Danny Carpenter. They had their way down the start-finish straightaway off into turn number 1. Best looking not to have a repeat of that earlier on, as it may end up happening. Still, it's a 28 car, mega squirrely down the brakes into turn number 1. Best gonna think better of it for a move into the S's. I think Daniel Best going for that move a little bit earlier on. I mean, heading off through the S's, I'd say this is someone who used to do race control for a rather big road racing series here on iRacing and had to sit through race control hell, as a 15-car pileup heading off through there had to be really broken down on lap 1 of a 1-hour-long race. Moves off into the S's usually end, actually they end two ways. They either end in one car crashing or both cars crashing.
All right, Ron, taking a quick look at the field. The 74 of Ryan Steinhoff just came down pit road, got quick service from his pit crew. Is that a potential strategy move right there to maybe get himself up towards the front at the end of this stage? We'll have to take a look at that when we get closer to the end, see if anybody else tries to do some type of pit strategy. As it looks like, nope, pit road is closed now. So I do not believe anybody else can come down pit roads. Looks like Steinhoff, the one driver, trying to do some type of pit strategy.
And we saw Danny Carpenter run deep heading down to turn number 6. That will yield P7 to Daniel Best. But interesting strategy call there from Steinhoff. He's been running in P4 throughout a decent chunk of this, where he's trying to throw something at the wall to see if it will stick as we get to the end of this second stage here tonight. I am not necessarily opposed to that call from the number 74. I'm not sure if it'll work out fantastically, but we'll just wait and see. So a lot of time left to go in this race, and we have no idea how it may go in the final stage here this evening. We'll say Trevor Baxter back in his regular spot, but Alan Duggar got a move done to jump his way up into P2. Roland Collette dropping down now, slotted in 3rd, so still certainly there. However, he's now 0.8 of a second back of Duggar, and that's probably part of the reason why Baxter has been able to pull out that gap from about 0.5 a second to 0.8 a little bit earlier on, now to nearly 1.5 seconds at the north end of the field.
Duggar has turned on the jets. That last lap, he was 2 tenths quicker than our leader. Really turned it on right here.
Whoa!
Also, oh, we got a car sideways. That's Carpenter. Yeah, Carpenter sideways out of turn 1. Now puts himself in the 10th, potential to lose more spots though, trying to get it back up to speed. Those tires are going to be extremely unhappy. Coming right now is Joshua Hyatt right behind him through the S's. Hyatt smells that blood in the water. Can he get to it? Get that stage point.
Yeah, unfortunately there for Mad Dog Dan, he's going to be mad because he barked up the wrong tree heading down into turn number 1. That may be the cheesiest thing I've said in my entire time doing broadcasting. I deeply apologize. Carpenter, though, going to have to get his bearings straight right towards the end of the stage as we take a look at the moment. Heading down into turn number 1. Now, you talked about it a little bit earlier on in this broadcast, Jeremy, but a lot of truth is said and just. This braking zone of turn number 1, treacherous at best and terrifying at its worst. Unfortunate there for the 20H, just keeps a lot of momentum rolling down in there, isn't able to get woed up in time, and as a result of that, he's going to slightly nose it into the barrier as he gets it spun back around. Thankfully, these next-gen cars are built tough, so that's not going to hurt him out too much. May potentially be able to get that front bumper pulled out a little bit come time for the pit stops coming up here in the not too far off future. Trevor Baxter on the last lap here in this stage. I think he's about to grab the checkered flag in this stage in a matter of about 30 seconds time. The battle for P2, though, still hot with Alan Duggar and Roland Collette. Colette, as we see him heading their way on the second back straightaway, as I like to call it, right at the carousel into turn number 6. Baxter untouchable at the front of the field. He won in stage 1. He's on track to win it here in stage 2. The dominant number 12 machine back on his rightful throne, but right behind, we've still got a battle for second. Looks like Alan Duggar going to get the better end of that. That number 15 car, he is a man on a mission in this race, trying to get a good points haul here for another round of this championship. Only 2 races left to go after this before we move off into the playoffs, but there's a green and white checkered flag, there's the yellow S, and there's your stage 2 winner of Trevor Baxter.
Whew. Another stage complete. Like we said, it's one of the shortest races of the year, and these drivers are just hauling the mail here at Watkins Glen. I believe we're going over 170 miles an hour into that bus stop. To think of just 170 miles an hour in that shorter period of time is pretty incredible to me. And like you said, there's the stopping power on these cars are just incredible. They do a great job of just getting these cars bowed up and into that bus stop. As you can see, the field's getting caught up to the pace car. One car, I believe, that will be staying out is Steinhoff. We'll see who else decides to maybe stay out and do us a one stop here early in the final stage. Lots of strategy calls that can be made. You don't want to follow a leader all night long. If you're following him, you're probably just going to follow him all night long. So somebody's got to try something different. Those top 3 have been kind of a league in their own tonight.
Yeah, those top 3 have been running in their own postal code up to this point. Postal code, I think, is a British terminology. I'll break out the American term. Running in their own zip code all throughout this race. That's one of my favorite things to say on whenever I get a scam call on the home phone. Someone asks me for my zip code. I just say, zip code, I'm not wearing my jeans. And that usually doesn't go over too well. But before I go off into talking about how I answer the scam calls that I get at my house, I think we got ourselves around to pit stops here. Jeremy, here we go. Some more racers potentially going to stay out under this yellow, trying to throw something at the wall to see what sticks in this final stage that we are now officially in. But the front 3 all coming into the pits unified. Everybody else going to trundle in with only a couple of exceptions farther behind. Let's see if lightning will strike twice for those front 3, or if we may have some pit stop difficulties in the second stop.
Drivers pull into their stalls. Oh, looks like Colette had to back up.
Exactly
that could be pretty bad. Yep, that could be pretty bad there. It was a big backup too. Let's see here. Duggar's left side's down. Baxter's left side's down. What happens? Colette, does Colette get out in third still? Well, excuse me.
Exactly
he did get that spot. Looks like just barely. Looks like we had 2 drivers stay out.
I'll tell you what, that could have been a heck of a lot worse there from the number 9 machine of Colette. Still running in what would be net P4 of the drivers to come down pit lane during this stage break here for the end of stage number 2 for another race here from the Door Sim Racing League. If you're enjoying tonight's action here on Maconi Entertainment, how about you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. Still got a good one for the final stage here tonight. 28 laps on the board of this 59-lap long race. Won't have any scheduled yellows between now and the end, and we do have that opportunity to potentially have a green-white checkered only one attempt allotted to these racers, though. So if they don't get it on that one attempt, it will be a caution end to this race. I think these drivers really enjoying that word in their own head, caution. Not in terms of the cautions in this race, they can be a little bit monotonous on the road courses, but I think exercising caution, a rather good key to do well in tonight's race.
Speaking of exercising that caution, we've only had just a couple incidents here tonight. Nothing too major in my opinion, especially with 28 cars starting on the field. Really enjoy watching this Door Racing League week in and week out. Put on tremendous shows. The great car count on a Sunday evening, and I really enjoy watching this. And Even on a road course, it is extremely exciting to watch, being part of these broadcasts here every Sunday night on Maconi Entertainment. As the pace car lights have gone off, Brickley and Steinhoff are going to be our new front row. We'll see if any of these drivers towards the back, desperate times, desperate measures, see if anybody does anything desperate to grab a few more spots in these closing laps, as we're going to be coming to lap number 30 of 59 when we go green.
Yeah, so getting into crunch time in this race, it may not seem like we're in crunch time, as I mean, let's face it, we're not even at the halfway mark of this race, but it is getting close to it. It is certainly getting into crunch time for these racers. They got to figure out exactly how to tackle this race, how to tackle the end. They've got a long marathon run up to the end of this race. And if you can master it, master the strategy, and keep your tires underneath you all throughout it, you're going to be smelling like a bed of roses for the others. Though, if they don't master it too well, they're probably going to smell less like a bed of roses and more so same smell of the stuff that they reflexively call it the garden center fertilizer.
And you don't want to smell like that either.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, there's one service area on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. I forget the name of it. It is right across the highway from a cow farm. So you can imagine the nice farm aroma that place has, getting out from the city of Philadelphia for the first time.
Especially in a hot summertime.
Yeah, you get out and it smells of... So that's not ideal. I don't think these racers want to smell like that at the end of this race. They want to have a good run. They want to get a good result in. And for some racers, if you're looking for a good points haul to potentially get your way into the playoffs or improve your standing come time for the end of that race at Daytona in just a couple of weeks' time, this could be a track to really make those inroads. As that pace car come down pit lane, about to get this final stage up and rolling here at Watkins Glen, as we're back to green here at the Glen, a drag race down into turn number 1. 2 different front row sitters as a result of that mixed call to come down pit lane. Look at the number 74 nearly getting a boot scoot and boogie heading down in there. That's going to be some tense stuff at the front of this field. Billy Brickley and Ryan Steinhoff leading this race as they head their way up the hill through the S's for the very first time here in stage number 3. Or the final stage.
Either way you put it, it works there on final or third stage. Drivers barreling down in there. Oh, I think one driver potentially missing the bus stop. Oh, I think everybody's good. Just kidding, don't listen to me. Everybody's clean and green through there. I thought there was one black car that kind of went off to the left. But everybody is through there just fine. Through that carousel. Oh, man, everybody just sends it all the way out there. Side by side. I believe for 5th, 6th, and 7th. Colette trying to make some moves side by side there with Burchett. Burchett now getting under pressure from Kurgelak. Can Kurgelak come down into turn 1, make a dive to driver's right, make the pass. Oh, driver off into the grass. A little farther back from that. Whew.
Yeah, not sure who that was running off into the dirt. I was going to get some bad flashbacks to the old running off 2 wheels into the dirt to try and cool your tires on road courses strategy from a couple of years ago here on iRacing. Oh boy, I thought I have enough bad flashbacks from the Bathurst 12-hour chat when I was on that show over on the iRacing channel. That gives me even more flashbacks. If looking at Alan Duggar heading his way off through the bus stop, it's close quarter stuff at the front of the field with the field getting stacked up a little bit. Billy Brickley not getting a good run, heading his way off through the inner loop, stacking up that 74 into the front end and into the crutches of the 12. And look at the 15 and the 9 right there as well. The front 5 cars in this field beginning to break away right now, form their own pack, form their own drama. You got 3 racers who have been the dominant racers, the Pied Pipers thus far of this race here at the Glen tonight. They're running in P3, P4, and P5. You got 2 racers right in front though who were running strong, but they're on different strategies. Here we go, swapping sides like they're flipping burgers down the start-finish stretch. 3 wide and big wiggles down into the braking zone. Lock up from the 12. That's the 69 car of Brickley running wide. The 74 of Steinhoff through a massive block, heading down that start-finish straightaway, and now there were only 1. Billy Brickley gonna get shuffled all the way down to 5th. He really feels now outnumbered, does Steinhoff. He's got the old tires. He's got the racers who usually had his number when it came to pace, running right behind him on newer Goodyear Eagles, and now we got to see how wide of that number 74 car he can really make that thing be.
Slight miss of the turn there coming to that bus stop. That's going to put the Duggar machine right on his back bumper. We saw Steinhoff pit just before pit road closed, but look to his left side. That's going to be a Duggar machine. And a turn number 6. They're side by side. A car in the background there off the track as well as Duggar goes back to the lead.
And that was Daniel Best having a big moment coming out of the carousel, but side by side for the lead. That's Baxter through into P1, his usual spot. Let's see if Alan Duggar going to look to follow. He's side by side with himself on the 74, heading his way up the hill across that start finish line to begin another lap, and through to the inside. He's going to go that P2 for Alan Duggar for now. Let's see if Steinhoff is really going to try and battle hard, or if that number 9 machine of Roland Collette is going to be there to pounce as well. That number 9 car started this race rather good when it came to the pace department, but since then, haven't really seen too much of a spark from that number 9 that we saw in the earlier stages. Looking at these front 2, it's a dogfight between Baxter and Duggar, heading their way through into the bus stop right about now, hopping up on the curbs, a hop, skip, and a jump. Baxter your leader, Duggar in P2. Steinhoff still holds off the challenge from Collette for 3rd right now. However, with this run through the carousel, I feel like it's a matter of time, and as I say that, through goes Collette into P3, as we may see Duggar looking to move on Baxter. He's been oh so close. He's really been the P2 car when it comes to pace, but Baxter has used every single point of this race to try and break away that 15 of Duggar. Not gonna let it happen this time.
But right on his back bumper. Coming to the start and finish line, Alan Duggar all over the back from Baxter. He's going to let the drivers right here into turn 1. Can he outbreak him and continue through to make the pass clean? He will. Duggar right now, our new leader, over Trevor Baxter here early in stage number 3.
Duggar wants to fight him, and fight him he will. That's through into the race lead. Goes that number 15 machine of Alan Duggar. Enter this race tied. The 0 points above that cut line heading into this race. So Duggar really had an uphill fight on his hands heading in here. He grabs the race lead. He now wants to pull away. Ever since I saw that move that he put on for P4 in the early stages between himself and Ryan Steinhoff, I knew that he had grander aspirations in mind for this race. Now with 34 coming to 35 laps on the board of this 59 lap long race, Duggar finds himself in the spot. He's holding the cards. It's not Trevor Baxter. Baxter with his back against the ropes for the first time really tonight. He's now in P2. He's got that 3rd place car of Roland Collette right behind. It's going to be intense at the front. And look at that. Duggar gets sideways and he's going to hit the wall. Coming out of the final turn, right as he tried to get into a groove, he's going to get into the wall.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Did not expect something like that out of Alan Duggar. And it looks like he's just stepped on it. And heavy right front damage to that number 15 machine. Looks like he is just trying to limp it back here to pit road. As we watch the replay, going through the final turn, rear end just steps out a little bit too much. And oh man, like I said, a lot of drivers have found those barrels. And guess what? Alan Duggar did just that. Luckily not a hard hit, but looks like heavy damage, and that's going to do it for his night, for a chance to win.
Yeah, I'm looking at the moment. Doesn't look like he has a meatball flag, so he can still keep it going on the racetrack for now. However, that is a big setback for that number 15 machine. Alan Duggar now slotted in P15, and now there were two. And here we start to see that number 9 car of Roland Glen really start to come back to life. He's all over the back of Trevor Baxter. The car's back in the hands of Trevor Baxter at the north end of this field, and they're starting to pull away from Ryan Steinhoff there as well. This 3-car battle was looking intense. It's now just a 2-car battle coming up into the final 20 laps of this race here at Watkins Glen tonight on Maconi Entertainment, with just another race of the Door Sim Racing League here this season. Look at Colette getting very flirtatious to the outside arm code barriers. He heads his way through turn number 3. He's giving it everything. The bad news is that 12 car giving it everything too.
Driving extremely hard right now because Colette knows he needs to do everything he can right now to get around that number 12. It's so hard to pass here. But Baxter's doing a good job. Not sure if everybody else is making good adjustments. If Baxter's trying to maybe save someone in his car, or he hasn't been keeping up with the track. But right now, Colette just kind of falling back just a little bit on this lap. We'll have to see how it pans out. Ryan Steinhoff looking pretty stout right now with that pit strategy, though, keeping himself now in third with Billy Brickley just right there in fourth.
So Ryan Steinhoff doing everything that he needs to do right now. Holding on to the lead with those slightly older tires was definitely a bit of a pipe dream. It wasn't going to work out for him, but he's doing everything he needs to do right now, holding on to P3 as a battle going to flare up right behind him, involving Michael Kurtzilek and Billy Brickley. That's a swaparoo from P4 and through into P4 is going to go that number 41 machine Brickley, now holding on to the final spot inside the top 5. However, the pressure is not done for him yet. Let's look behind. That's Gabriel Burke in that number 8 machine right there to pounce as well. They're seeing this field really start to try and settle into a groove. You know, that's one thing that we didn't raise, talking about the rather short stage lengths throughout this race thus far, Jeremy. Not a lot of time for these racers to relax, settle into a groove, and get comfortable here at the Glen. Now they're finally getting the opportunity to do that, and we're starting to see some racers that we haven't really talked about a lot in terms of having quick race cars begin to have quick race cars.
I believe that's one of those things that I like about these open setups is you can have drivers, you got those comers and goers a lot more. Some drivers like to set themselves up for more of a long run setup. And with this being a road course, I would assume some of these drivers expected it to be more of a long run race. As Billy Brickley now falls back there to P6. As Gabriel Burke, and that number 8 finds himself in the top 5 tonight.
Yeah, so let's see if that number 8 car will remain in that spot. Just got done on Billy Brickley, who I think is really starting to struggle when it comes to pace. I will look to see what sort of lap times Billy Brickley has set as of recent here tonight. Just looking through his lap times up to this point, last time by a 112.5, a 111.2 the time before that, a 111.1, a 111.3, a 111.0, a 112.16. He has a 112.6, I should say, a 112.16. I'm not entirely sure how that would work in terms of timekeeping, but right now we're starting to see that number 69 car really start to bleed off when it comes to pace, not being able to set consistent lap times at all, and he's got to make that call to come down pit lane. I think a smart call there from Billy Brickley. He was really starting to struggle out there.
Potentially a good time of the stage to pit. We'll see how that works out for Billy Brickley. Coming around to about 20 laps to go. 20 laps to go. I don't know why I said about 20 laps to go. It is 20 laps to go for the field right now, especially for Trevor Baxter out front. Like you see Daniel Best at number 5 running in 7th right now. He's one of those drivers who's been kind of throughout the top 10 as he's trying to get to the back bumper of that number 3 of Brian Burchett, who's running in 6th. Who just got passed by Gabriel Burke, so we'll see if Daniel Best can now pounce.
So let's see if that number 5 car has had a rather scrappy night up to tonight in that race car. Let's see if he'll be able to scrap together some more overtaking opportunities. Brian Burchard running right in front. Should be noted about that as well. If we can pull up the hard charger and the most positions gained graphic here to keep you viewers up to date on all of that. Brian Burchard has been the leader in that category pretty much all throughout tonight. 20 spots gained in that number 3 machine. Incredible stuff from Brian behind the wheel of that race car. Tommy Osborne slotted in P2 in the hard charger category, 15 spots gained. Those are the only 2 in double digits. The closest to them is Chris Chavez Essery, your current P11 runner. He's actually in the pits as it stands right now, up 9 now, make that 8 spots ever since the drop of the green flag. With 20 laps left to go here as well, Jeremy, we will potentially see these drivers make another call to come down pit lane. And for the front 2 who have been dominant in this race, and it should be noted as well, they are teammates at SBR Motorsports. I gotta wonder how they're going to tackle this race.
We'll see how it pans out. A lot of drivers are going to have to make a lot of choices. All it looks like we got is, I believe that's Collette. Yes, Collette has made the right-hand turn down pit road for that number 9 machine.
Yeah, so Roland Collette making that call to pit. I'm a little bit surprised that the teammates didn't come down pit lane together, but hey, you've got different cases going on for the 2. The 12 of Trevor Baxter already solidly into the playoffs, have a decent amount of wins up to this point in the championship. He's been running smooth. The 9 car, though, on the other hand, he is looking to try and point his way into the playoffs in the final few weeks. No tires, just a quick splash and dash, and out of pits he's going to go. We'll say, you see that number 15 car, you're at 1 point race leader, and a heartbreaking situation for your at 1 point race leader down in pit lane. Things were looking so good for so long for Alan Duggar until they went so badly so quickly.
Fortunate for Duggar, who was doing a great job just putting that pressure on, making that clean pass, and just having that bend-it moment off of the final turn. Like I said, I've done that myself. You just come off that final turn trying to keep the momentum down that front stretch, and you just maybe sometimes put a little bit too much gas into it. And I believe Courage Lag maybe potentially on pit road this time. Yes, he is.
So some more pit stops going on. We're not seeing a massive flood of racers coming down pit lane. It's a slow trickle what we have had up to this point. Man, I gotta wonder how Days of Thunder would have gone over as a movie if Slow Trickle was the name of the main character. But Trevor Baxter holding on to the race lead as it stands right now, 8.3 seconds. The gap between himself and Ryan Steinhoff. Gabriel Burke rounds out your top 3 as it stands right now. So have to worry about these racers making that call to come down pit lane. I think Baxter will stay out for another lap potentially here. Not seeing any indications of that number 12 car making the call to come down pit lane. I will be on pit stop watch as he loses out on about a half a second. I think Baxter just taking it easy as it stands right now, running in a good spot and trying to whittle the laps away. He's still out there on the racetrack, heading his way down to turn number 1 presently, so won't have to worry about that. Here's a driver that we haven't talked about really at all throughout this race. Paul Danino in the number 1 car, currently slotted in 7th. He's been a quiet driver, under the radar, so to speak, up to this point in the race. So let's look at him currently holding on to a spot inside the top 10 and see how things may evolve for that racer of the number 1 machine as he has his way down into the final corner. Is this a pit stop call from him? It will be a pit stop call from him, the driver, the 1 making that call to pit. Just another racer to make that call to come down pit lane, and Ryan Steinhoff being one of the latest. So Steinhoff making the call to pit now would lead me to believe that probably within the next, what do you say, Jeremy? Probably about 5-ish laps, we're probably going to see pretty much the rest of the field, including your race leader of Trevor Baxter, come in too.
I would assume everybody should be in within the next 5 laps. Look at the lap times right now, Baxter's still fast enough track, even with these cars behind him getting those fresh tires, but I want to keep a look on that. Probably takes a couple laps for these tires to kind of get up a little bit more, the temperature getting sticky. Now these tires do not have any tread, so you need to grab grip via traction of the heat. from the tire. Oh, the number 1 of Danilo hits the wall and pit exit.
And that right there is the quintessential commentator. He spins it around again and toes back to pit lane, right as we talked about him having a quiet, under the radar and rather all right race. Here's what happens to him as he comes out of pit lane. That is a rather bizarre moment for him. So let's take a look at this as he trundles his way out of pit lane. Here he goes. Yeah, contact being made, hits the wall, nearly gets T-boned in the process of all that. I think Joseph Newgard did something very similar in an IndyCar race here back in 2017. Nearly ended up costing him the championship in that season of IndyCar, and that's going to cost Paul Dino a very good race result here at Watkins Glen. Just skates it off heading in there, carries too much speed. Pow, he goes into the wall, hits it with the left rear, so I'm sure some major suspension damage done as a result of all that. And that was a 28 car of Carpenter, who nearly got a piece of that 1 car in the wrong way.
Our leader, Baxter, on pit road now.
Well, here we go, the moment that we were expecting.
These next 5 laps, we should see the whole field coming down pit road. Lots of drivers making a sweeping right-hand turn. Let's see how it goes for Baxter. See if he can get in and out of his pit stall all right. Pit stall number 1, nice and smooth in. You see the left-hand side go up first because Watkins Glen is a more, I guess you could say, backwards pit road than traditional. This is the one time you'll see the gas holes on the right sides of the cars. In and out for Trevor Baxter.
So Trevor Baxter
can get on pit road too.
Pit lane as he's come out behind Roland Collette. Roland Collette has been able to jump in front of Trevor Baxter as a result of this call to come down pit lane, and it's not that close either. That is a huge moment there from Roland Collette. He was able to put in some stormers of laps. Looking at his recent pace here in this race, ever since he came out of the pits, first lap out, 1:11.1, second lap out, 1:10.8, third lap at 1:10.4, and that was the lap that he set last time by Roland Collette, able to put in some brilliant laps during that early part of this stint, pushing the limits of that car, running at the limit of adhesion, and that's going to work out rather well for him here tonight. Only 1 driver in front, that being Gabriel Burke in the 8 machine. However, that car will have to come down pit lane between now and the end of this, so that will be a rather surefire thing to do well for Roland Collette. I wonder, though, how long was his stop down pit lane? How long was he stopped there? We're not hearing anything about it being an uber slow run for him down to the pits, so I think that may have just been done purely on merit. Roland Collette saying in some cookers that Trevor Baxter was held up a little bit out there on the racetrack. Oh yeah, there we can see it. 5 seconds down in the pit box compared to Trevor Baxter's 15. Did Baxter take tires? I think he did, yeah.
Fuel only, possibly.
Yeah, that somehow I think we did see that fuel only stop from Collette. So I think I'm not really sure why Trevor Baxter would really take tires there at the end of the race. I mean, it makes sense. We did see the tire advantage really play out in the first part of this stint, but Collette deciding against taking the tires, takes fuel only, and is able to vault out big time. As soon as I saw that, I was like, wait a daggone minute, and that's exactly what happened. Baxter taking tires and spending about 10 seconds longer down in the pit stall alone as a result of that pit cycle. That's going to work out good for Collette. Now he just has to hold on.
Laps are winding down here very quickly. Lap 46 of 59. 8 seconds back for Trevor Baxter on Roland Collette. As I say that, Collette lost a bunch of time that lap, almost 7/10. So a lot can still transpire here.
Still a lot of things left to happen here in this race. 13 laps left to go. Lucky number 13 laps left to go as Gabriel Burke holding on to the race lead still has a 14-second gap as it stands right now. I'm going to look through. I want to see when it was the last time that number 8 car came down pit lane, because it has been a little bit of time since we last saw him come into the pits, and not coming in this time either. I'm looking through right now. The last
Looks like
time
19
that we
laps.
saw Gabriel Burke come down pit lane, yeah, about 19 laps ago. It was on lap 29 and lap 28 that I saw those very slow lap times from him. So that would be the indication of his last run into the pits, but very likely during that stage of brake yellow at the end of stage number 2. So Gabriel Burke, unless he's able to pull off some sort of masterful fuel-saving strategy at the end of this race, I gotta imagine he's got to come in. Not only is he probably going to be running on fumes, his tires are probably going to be worn down to the canvas along with it.
Looking throughout the field kind of spread out right now because of these green flag stops. Kurgelak and Brickley seem to be the closest battle in that top 5. As Freeman is now on pit road, he'll fall out of the top 10. We should be seeing Burke here soon, I would assume, with Freeman coming that time there on the same strategy as Burke goes actually around pit road one more time. We'll see.
So Gabriel Burke in that number 8 machine trying to potentially run the distance, run the clock out here in this race and try and make it to the end. If there's a green-white checkered, you can forget about him running for that battle for the win. As we take a look, that's Thomas Freeman, that 17 machine. He's going to be exiting out right behind Hugh Brown, that number 11 car. I'd just say he was in the 11 car again. He's in the 35. I think I made that mistake a little bit earlier on. He is.
I think that was me.
So in that 35 machine. I will throw up my hand. I'm pretty sure I mistook the spot that he was running in on our graphics for the number right next to him. We got 2 numbers right back to back. That is, I would make an excuse for it. That's just my brain being the size of a thimble. Gabriel Burke holding on to now a 12.8 second lead. There's the yin with the yang about that racer running up in the front, because not only do you have the yin of being able to potentially run the distance, go all the way to the end of this race, if he can potentially do that. Not entirely sure if you can do that, but if he can, he'll certainly try and go for it. You also have the yang of saving too much fuel and just losing out on that lead, not even because of a pit stop, but because you're just driving so slow around this track. It would be a big amount of gaining that Roland Collette has to do with the 12.8 second gap with 10 laps left to go here in this race. But if Gabriel Burke really starts to slow down, he may have to worry about that number 9 car closing in.
Trevor Baxter now 5.4 seconds back behind the Roland Collette machine. So slowly but surely chipping away at it with just a few laps left. One little slip up from Roland Collette that could put Trevor Baxter right to his back bumper. I think the fresh tires might work, or it's gonna be close.
Yeah, we'll have to see if that works out, but Baxter right back there. If he can really turn on the Hyperjets and close up that gap, we may have to worry about a 3-car convergence at the end of this race. 10 laps left to go here at Watkins Glen for tonight's coverage of the Door Sim Racing League here at Maconi Entertainment. If you're enjoying tonight's action, how about you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell here to Maconi Entertainment so you never miss out on the action from this series and many, many others week in and week out. Professional grade broadcast, live admin control, and event organized services. Maconi Entertainment here to bring all of the action to life. You can scan that QR code to end up on the website. I like that graphic. That's pretty nice. You know, in the year plus that I've been here at Maconi Entertainment, I don't think I've seen that graphic get shown at all. That, or it's just my eyes have been failing me all this time, which I think they very much so could be, because my eyes... I'll tell you what here, Jeremy, I'm not sure how much bearing this may have on you. Without my glasses that I thankfully always have on me for these broadcasts, I wouldn't be able to see a thing. My feet work about as well as my eyes work as eyes.
It can be hard to see the older you get too, so be ready. Age is a scary thing. No, I'm just kidding. I
already have the back of a 95-year-old man. I'm terrified to see what my
vision will
be like.
As we watch Gabriel Burke, he's going to go around the track one more lap. He's 24 laps on the stint, still with an 11-second lead. We'll see if it works out. I mean, if he's saving fuel, Oh, I believe he just chatted on the radio, so it may be coming this time. We'll have to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, certainly got to be keeping our eyes locked on that number 8 machine of Gabriel Burke. He's currently heading his way down the back straightaway as it stands right now, so I'm going to keep 2 eyes locked on not only the action we've got on screen right now here on this broadcast, but the stuff you won't be able to see with that 8 machine as he trundles his way around the racetrack, looking through. I'm trying to hear for any sort of lifting going on for that 8 car heading down the back stretch. I'm going to listen in here real quick from a replay a couple of moments ago that I've been able to pull up on my end. Didn't sound like he was lifting too badly heading off in there, so I think Gabriel Burke trying to run at full song. That gap now down to 9.7 seconds. I don't think he's had very good run of the green when it comes to lap traffic encounters either, so let's see. Very slow as he gets his way off through the final turn. He's going to hold on to it, still out there on the racetrack. I think the car's handling, though, really starting to roll away from him. You can see how slow he was heading his way off through that final corner. I believe minimum speed heading off through there for him was about 82 miles an hour. You compare that to some racers a little bit farther up the road, Roland Collette mainly, as he headed his way off through that part of the track, was a steady click of about 3 miles an hour quicker. May not seem like too much, but that was rather slow from that number 8 machine. So I think Gabriel Burke starting to struggle in more ways than one. This may be falling back into the hands of Roland Collette. We'll have to see if that number 8 car makes that call to come down pit lane, but in terms of the pace, it's starting to go for that number 8 machine.
And you mentioned lap traffic, they had to go around. Don't forget those cars behind them will have to go around that lap traffic as well. Obviously, if they're handling better, it can be a lot easier to do. This is exciting here. These final laps, race winding down, coming around these last couple of turns. It's going to be 6 laps to go here at the line. The Burke machine rips it off of turn number 7 up against the wall. Will not pit this time. 6 laps to go for Gabriel Burke. Does he have enough fuel?
Yeah, I think Gabriel Burke is just going to try and run the distance, get to the end of this race in that number 8 car. He is looking to try and grab the win tonight. 6 laps left of racing action for him. And around this 2.5 mile long racetrack, there's not a whole lot of time left to go. Roland Collette, you can see in terms of the pit stops, last time Gabriel Burke came down pit lane was, is that correct, on lap 38 it says on our graphics? That, or my eyes are deceiving me yet again. That is still an insane run right at the end of this race. Lap 28, I think that actually may be my computer monitor failing me there, so I apologize for that. Lap 28 though really undersells it. That is a long stint for Gabriel Burke. Will he be able to keep it on the road for the final 5 laps of this race? He's coming to that 5th lap this time by last pit on lap number 28 there. That is madness from that number 8 driver, putting together a really
he should be coming this time,
stint,
coming in.
but he's coming down pit lane. There you can see him slow out of the seconds last turn, and on that inside line, Gabriel Burke not able to run the distance. He comes in 6 laps from the end. That'll give the race lead back to Roland Collette as he gets his way on that start-finish straightaway. 5 left to go at the line for the driver. The number 9 car entered this race about 74 points back of that playoff cutoff line. As much as he cannot win himself into this race because of the rules here in this series, he can still do himself a whole lot of favors for the final 2 weeks of this regular season.
2.6 seconds back is Trevor Baxter with those fresher tires versus the Collette machine. I mean, if this works out for Collette, taking no tires, genius move. Had to try to do something different. Trying to pound out these last few laps on those older tires. 2.2 seconds now. Really closing in there, Baxter. Giving it all he's got. See him right there in the distance.
He is pushing that car to the absolute limit, is Trevor Baxter. These racers have a flat-out clean run through to the fall of the checkered flag, and Baxter reeling in his teammate at a rate of knots. I wonder whether or not he'll decide to take the high road in all this. Baxter already rather dominant up to this point in this season, has a comfortable gap to that cutoff line, will not lose out on much if he finishes P2 here in this race. Collette, on the other hand, this would be a brilliant result for him. But at this point in time, does Baxter even have enough time to reel in those racers? We'll just have to wait and see. For now, though, we got battle on screen right now for P4 in this race. It's Burke running right in front of Brian Burchett. He's put together a masterful drive, has that drive of the number 3 machine, the hard charger, by a pretty comfy margin, and is holding on to a spot inside the top 5 with the opportunity to make it up into 4th. That's a slow car a little bit farther up the road. Not entirely sure who that is in that machine, but clearly a bad run heading off through that section of the track. That, I believe, actually James Nesta has another sideways snap as he heads his way off through turn number 4. Gets really wiggly through there, nearly lost it in front of your P4 runner of Gabriel Burke, but he's going to let those drivers go by, blow his doors off. Otherwise, it may end in tears. Now 4 laps left to go. Coming to 3 this time by. Roland Collette still holding on to a comfortable margin with himself and Trevor Baxter. That's just enough whereby I don't think, unless Baxter can reel him in at the rate of about 3/4 of a second between now and the end of this race, I think it may be looking good for Collette.
Let's give a little credit there to that Gabriel Burke machine right there in front of Brian Burke. Came down, just got a splash of fuel here to finish out this race. Went for the lead, just back to 4th. So honestly, not too bad of a loss there for Gabriel Burke on this different strategy. Got to give him some credit right there. That worked out pretty decent for him.
Yeah, you gotta say, despite the fact he threw it at the wall, wasn't able to grab the win at the end of this race. You never know. Who knows? We could have a wreck right about now, bring out a yellow, and we go into green-white checkered territory. Looking good at the moment, though, for Collette, holding on to a 1.8-second lead. Coming to 2 to go this time by as well is that driver, the number 9 machine. That would be a brilliant race for him in that SBR Motorsports entry. His teammate right there behind as well. It'd be a team 1-2 if they can just hold on to it between now and the end of this race. Coming up in a couple of moments time, the white flag in the air for Collette. Actually, one more lap of racing action for him. Did I say white flag? I think that's actually 2 to go.
Got me so excited.
Collette there, yeah. I was about to say, that right there, again, my eyes failing me. I saw that 3 to go. I thought it was 2 to go. That or Discord screen share, taking a look at the production feed from my end of my PC, deciding, screw you. We're going to run you at potato quality. Beautiful VHSP from my end, thanks to my wonderful PC bought on Amazon back in 2023.
It's all right, we're both running Amazon specials, but they work good enough for what we need to do here tonight. Is Roland Collette. Strategy of just fuel only on his final stop has him 1.4 seconds in front of his teammate Trevor Baxter. We said 76 points out of the playoffs was not, too far out. 25 laps a race, it could put him right there at the bubble in the final race of the regular season. Looks like we're coming to white flag this time.
Yeah, the white flag going to be in there for Roland Collette. One more lap of racing action left to go for him, and that is true this time. We saw Trevor Baxter really ship it off heading down into turn number 6. He's starting to push the limits in that number 12 machine. He is right there. The gap now 1.5 seconds between these two, but as it stands right now, Roland Collette holding on to that race lead as he heads his way up the hill through turn number 2 into 3 for the final time in this race. A gap now 1.4 seconds between himself and his teammate. It's going to have to be a mistake from Collette and a brilliant final half of this final lap of the race for Trevor Baxter if he wants to get the job done here tonight. I just think he's running out of opportunities and, more importantly, running out of time. 1.1 seconds to gap at slowest as they head their way off into the carousel. But Roland Collette has put together a mighty drive here at the Glen. Grabbed that lead as a result of some chicanery going on. That front pack fight was really populated at the very most by 3. It was Trevor Baxter leading in the early stages. That number 15 driver had a really unfortunate end to his race. It was tough for Alan Duggar, who I got to imagine would have been in this battle as well. But the one who's going to come out victorious as he heads his way out of the final corner will be the number 9 machine of Roland Collette. There's the checkered flag for him here at Watkins Glen. He is victorious here tonight. It's an SBR Motorsports 1-2 at the end of it all, but Collette's going to get that job done and help himself big time with that playoff bubble.
Collette gambles here in upstate New York on the road. Makes it happen. A little bump there from his teammate Trevor Baxter. Colette needed to have a good finish to the regular season. This is a good way to start it off.
Talk about a way to fight back. Roland Collette putting in a good one here tonight at the Glen. All credit where credit is due to his teammate as well, Trevor Baxter. He put on a mighty comeback at the end of it all. He lost out 10 seconds in that last run through the pits, and in that marathon run to the line, he was able to make up all but one of those seconds. Brilliant stuff for him, and he's got to push his teammate to victory lane here at Watkins Glen. Roland Collette going to be your winner at the end of a race that, outside of the stages, goes caution-free here tonight. We don't worry about any sort of drama with those green-white checkers. We keep it smooth, the run to regulation, and that was a rather clean race as well. Those racers getting it all done at the very end of it. Only 1 hour and 16 minutes of action, and for Roland Collette, it was 1 hour and 16 of running solidly inside the top 3 thread most of the day. I think the farthest back he was at all throughout this race was probably in the early stages when he was running in 5th. Outside that, though, it was a brilliant drive from Collette. He's going to burn it down on this start-finish straightaway and celebrate in style with his teammates spinning him around, maybe trying to get some photos. I doubt very highly he's upset. Just a love tap and a love rub, maybe running out of fuel as well. Will we see him burn it down? I'm not sure we will, as Collette very much so out of gas. His teammate burning it down for him. Give him a smoke show for us here on that start-finish straightaway. Roland Collette may not have won out on any sort of fuel mileage game on the cool-down lap, but he is victorious here at Watkins Glen. We're going to take a quick commercial break here at Maconi Entertainment. We'll be right back with some results, some interviews, and to look forward to the final 2 races of the regular season here from the Door Racing League. That's your winner. That's Collette, and he's victorious here at the Glen.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Back again here on Maconi Entertainment for tonight's coverage of the Door Racing League here at Watkins Glen. That right there is your victorious car, the number 9 of Roland Collette, getting the job done for SBR Motorsports. My apologies. It's myself, Ron Mullins, and Jeremy Briggs on the broadcast here tonight with Christian Hill in the production truck. And there are your results after 59 laps of racing action tonight. Roland Collette gonna get the job done. His teammate of Trevor Baxter really gave him hell towards the end after losing out on 10 seconds in that final run through pit lane. He had to put on a mighty charge to make it down to a second. If he had a couple more laps, I think Roland Collette may have had a bit of a thorn in his side with his own teammates trying to chase him down for the win. Ryan Steinhoff going to walk away with the podium at the end of this race. Rather good result from him. The 8 of Gabriel Burke, who was leading as late as the final handful of laps. He finishes in P4, throws the kitchen sink at the strategy. Works out pretty all right for him. It may not be a win, it may not be a podium, but still a solid spot inside of the top 4. Brian Burchett, your hard charger at the end of this race. Think of it this way, Jeremy. The driver of the number 3 car finishing this race in a nice P5. He started this race not inside the top 10, not inside the top 20, not inside the top 25. He started this race in 27th, as close as you could get to dead freaking last. And as a result of it, he makes his way up through the field. The hard charger by far going to round out your top 5. It'll be Michael Kurzalek finishing this race in P number 6, Billy Brickley in 7th, Stephen Bird in 8th, Daniel Best in 9th, with Chris Chavez Essery rounding out your top 10 finishers at the end of this race, Jeremy.
Danny Carpenter with a pretty eventful race finishes this race in 11th. Tommy Osborne, comes home in 12th. 13th goes to Hugh Brown. 14th, give that to Joshua Hyatt. 15th, Thomas Freeman, that number 17 machine. 16th goes to Thomas Hegland. 17th goes to one of the playoff cutoff drivers, Bradley Knopfschneider. 18th, another one of those playoff cutoff drivers, Alan Duggar, spun up from the lead, unfortunate for him. James Nesta, 19th, and William Hewitt rounds out your top 20.
Then looking through the final few drivers classified at the end of this race, many of these racers running into some difficulties through it. It was Josh Switzer classed in P21, Paul Domnino classed in P22, Michael Reeves in 23rd, Gus Otero is classed in 24th, Ronald Judd in 25th, Brian Wasserman in 26th, Nathan Ford and Nate Pollard ran at 28 starters at the end of this race here tonight. And that's how it shakes out after 59 laps of racing action here for just another race from the Door Sim Racing League here on Maconi Entertainment. Hopefully all of you tuning into this broadcast have enjoyed the racing action, but you've heard it from our side here in the commentary booth, and we will get the opportunity to hear from some of these racers. I think I'm going to get the interviews kick-started here by having a chat with our P3 finisher at the end of this race of Ryan Steinhoff. Unfortunately, I don't think I can drag him into the broadcast booth. I wonder if our a wonderful producer, Mr. Christian Hill, can, and Ryan Steinhoff now joining us here on the broadcast booth. Ryan, welcome in here. Well done on the P3. Happy to talk us through that race here today.
Yeah, thank you. That was a fight for sure. I'm sweaty, but no, that was a lot of fun. Watkins is probably my best just track on the service, and it's an enjoyable time every time we're here.
You know, I was talking a lot throughout this broadcast about how much I adore this cup layout here, and Jeremy described it a little bit earlier on. My colleague here in the broadcast booth described this track as a super speedway in road course form. It is so quick and so quickly paced running around here. So I want to ask you how it is from your side of things behind the wheel, running around a track with such short lap times in the grand scheme of most of the road courses on the calendar.
Yeah, it's definitely fast. I'm unfortunately not fast enough to be up there in the front spot, but still, it's a fun track. It's like I said, it's probably my favorite and best track on the service. So it's just one I severely enjoy going to and just having a good time just putting laps down.
So very good race for you at the end of it all here tonight, walking away with a P3 result. Only have a couple more races left to go in the regular season. Richmond coming up next time out. I want to ask, what are your thoughts heading off to there in 1 week's time?
Short tracks are definitely my weakness. It's something that I struggle with a lot. But still looking forward to having a good time and doing our best to try to get a good finish there.
Yeah, and certainly looking forward to seeing the action there at Richmond in just 1 week's time, Ryan. But before we let you go and celebrate this podium, we'll let you give any thanks or shout-outs before we let you go and celebrate.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for the broadcast. Thank you, the league, for putting it on. And thanks, shout out to our team. I'm unfortunately not running the right paint. Couldn't get the print working at the shop, and so I've got the default paint still, but the Red Snapper guys, I think, got a couple of us in the top 5, so shout out to them, and thank you guys again.
Yeah, ran out of ink, and then you had to go down to the drugstore to get, and there wasn't an attendant to unlock it out of the case. I've been there way too many times with Ryan. Thank you for joining us here in the broadcast booth. Well done on the P3, and looking forward to seeing you out there on the racetrack at Richmond in 1 week's time.
Yeah, thank you.
And that right there was our P3 finisher, Ryan Steinhoff, joining us here in the broadcast booth. And next up, in terms of the interviews, our P2 finisher at the end of this race, Trevor Baxter. We'll drag him into the broadcast booth. And Jeremy, I'll let you have a chat with our P2 finisher of Trevor Baxter.
What's going on, guys?
What's up, Trevor? Welcome up to the broadcast booth once again. Unfortunately, not in first place after leading 39 laps and starting on the pole, but you did set the fastest lap of the race. You came home second. Looks like your teammate there had a different strategy just to get himself out in front. What else did you need for yourself to get there? Looks like your teammate ran out of fuel at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with it. I'm tickled to death for Roland, dude. That's awesome. We actually signed Roland on. He's a paid house driver for SBR about a month or so ago. So happy to have him. Solid talent he's had. in some other leagues and in this league the past couple months, and we picked him up and it paid off. I mean, the guy can drive, so I'm proud of him. Good job to him. Good race. Me and him were sitting in the chat. We were looking at the fuel. I thought maybe we could make it. I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know. And I was like, what are you going to do? He's like, I don't know. What are you going to do? And I was like, I'm taking full fuel. And I was like, if you want to take no tires or 2 tires, you better go now, because it got clear path for him to get out of the pits. The way it was looking on the track map, and he did it, and it worked out for him. Proud of him, and good race, man.
I mean, what an interview we're having right now. We've got P2 cheering on the winner of the race, and that's just great to hear that you and Roland have definitely developed a good racing workmanship there on the track, and it seems to be working out well for you this season, having a dominant season. Playoffs are creeping in. Looking forward to the next couple of weeks. What are your expectations?
Looking forward to the good racing. Shout out to Ryco Motorsports and Ken Byron, all his house drivers, everybody at SBR. We all run the Ryco stuff, so shout out to them. They put us on the track and get us where we need to go. So we appreciate it, and thank y'all for broadcasting and doing everything you did. Again, big shout out to Roland Collette, man. Awesome drive, good finish, good clean race. He did everything he had to do to put it in victory lane. I'm proud of him. Good job.
And that is your P2 finisher, explaining about how great this racing is here each and every week. Congratulations, Trevor. We'll speak to you here in a few weeks.
See you, bud. Have a good night.
And that right there was Trevor Baxter, our P2 finisher at the end of this race. And we got time for one more chat, and it's with our P1 finisher at the end of this race, Roland Collette, now joining us here in the broadcast booth. Roland, welcome in. Congratulations on the win, man. Well done here at Watkins Glen. Happy to talk us through that race from your perspective out there behind the wheel.
Man, it was a nail biter at the end there. It was really wild, man. It was glad I could get the win. I've been wanting to get a win here this season, and managed to get it. Managed to go on a gamble and take no tires and a splash of fuel on that last pit stop, and managed to stay out front and win this thing.
And I got to say, as you came out of the pits, you're able to set in some cookers of some lap times as well, tracking nicely in the 1-minute 10s I saw throughout a decent chunk of this race. I want to ask you how it was for you trying to settle into a groove around this track here at Watkins Glen tonight.
It was pretty difficult, especially when you got pressure coming behind you, like how fast Trevor is, and he had four fresh tires, and I was trying to stay out in front of him, and I knew he was coming. I kept looking at the relative box, seeing how far he was back, and I was just trying to stay focused on my lines, and managed to run my lines really well until the end there, and managed to beat him to the line. So just proud of the work and effort I put in this week to win this race, and I'm thankful for Ryco and their setups they put out, and it's just a game changer for me. A whole lot faster, so it's just I was pretty shocked to win this race, but just happy.
I can imagine you are very happy about that result. We talked about right at the start of the show, the slight hill to climb for you to make your way into the playoffs come time for the end of this regular season. In a couple of weeks' time, you entered this race 74 below that cut line. I'm not sure how it'll work out after the points here today. Of course, we will be able to report that come time for next week's show at Richmond. But I want to ask you about your thoughts heading into the end of this regular season.
I'm just going to run the best I can and see where we end up at the end of the regular season. And I really don't know where I'd be right now, but I feel like we might have a shot at being eligible for the playoffs. But if not, it's no big worries. We'll do it next year. So just happy to get the win tonight and ready to go on to Richmond next week.
Yeah, gotta keep marching along come time for that next race in 1 week's time. And I gotta say, I admire that mindset. I admire the drive that he put on here at Watkins Glen, Roland, getting the win here tonight. We'll let you go and celebrate after one more question. That is there anybody you want to give a thanks to or shout out for getting you here?
I want to thank SBR Motorsports, Trevor Baxter, for signing me to SBR Motorsports team. It's been a whole lot of fun. It's been an honor to race for him and use Ryko setups. And I also want to thank JS Designs for sponsoring me and making my paint schemes. And I hope they look good on the track tonight. So just thanks to them and everything they've done and all the time and effort they put into the time and effort and the setups and the paint schemes and the coaching. Just it's just very helpful, and I appreciate it very, very much. And just want to thank the guys at Door to Door and putting this league together. It's been a really good season so far, and I just want to thank you guys for broadcasting. You guys do an amazing job, and that's about all I have. So we'll get ready for next week.
Yeah, and certainly looking forward to that race here on Maconi Entertainment for the next race of this season in just 1 week's time. Roland, thank you for joining us here in the commentary booth, and congratulations once again on the victory here at Watkins Glen.
Thank you.
And that right there was our race winner, Roland Collette, joining us here in the broadcast booth. I believe that's about all the time we've got for when it comes to interviews. But before we look ahead to the race at Richmond, at my father's request, because he sent this message off into the YouTube chat a little bit earlier on, this is based off a joke that was made during a broadcast a little bit earlier on today at this exact same racetrack, the exact same cars. If the vineyards around Watkins Glen are ever sold and houses are built on the land, will the people complaining about the noise be considered whiners? So I just want to say that on the show because he sent me a text message saying end the broadcast with the joke with a full period. It wasn't even an exclamation point. That was no debate there, so I absolutely had to do that at the end of all that. Thank you very much, Dad. This is a man who was crying laughing at the dinner table earlier on today, laughing at the Lollipop Guild. But, you know, Jeremy, this was an absolutely amazing race at Watkins Glen, but I have the feeling that race at Richmond, some short track racing to look forward to next week, gonna be very tense. Doubly so, considering after that, it's only Daytona before we have to look ahead to those playoffs.
Another great night of door-to-door racing with Door Racing League. Like I said, we're going to have some side-by-side door-to-door action at Richmond Speedway. It's going to be great. It's going to be right here on Maconi Entertainment. Same place, same time next week. These drivers are going to put on one heck of a show. We'll see if any of those drivers near that cutoff line get desperate, making moves, and make for a crazy and wild race. I'm excited. I can't wait to be there.
And I will be there as well for that race in 1 week's time, broadcasted exclusively on Maconi Entertainment, here to bring the action to life. We have got great actions to look forward to day in and day out, week in and week out here on Maconi. In fact, coming up tomorrow, we've got a rather different style of racing with the Formula Fords running at VIR, the FF 1600 official strength of field race, broadcasted every single Monday afternoon here on Maconi Entertainment. I'm part of those broadcasts, and they put on some brilliant racing. And hopefully all of you will be able to tune into the action by hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell here to the YouTube channel so you never miss out on any of the racing action here on Maconi Entertainment. But as for this broadcast here at Watkins Glen for the Door Sim Racing League, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Mullins, Jeremy Briggs joining me in the commentary booth, and Christian Hill doing a wonderful job working the cameras and the graphics inside of the virtual production hauler, I say thank you also very much for tuning into this broadcast here on Maconi Entertainment tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.